What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on these analysis. We're going to be looking at Microstrategy today, a little bit of Bitcoin, and some other charts. So as you can see, we have a nice move above this horizontal level here. We got our nice close, retested yesterday. Yesterday was literally just a retest kind of day. We closed practically exactly where we closed the prior day. But that's a super bullish look. Although it was a red candle, this is a bullish candle in my eyes, although it's red. So we pushed all the way down, held this level that we had drawn out. We've had this drawn out for, I don't even know, like weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So it respected this level very well, pushed up higher, and we got that close right where we started. Hopefully today ends up being a nice up day. We'll see how it goes. Overall, though, the trend's looking very bullish. I would imagine if we were to compare this to the previous legs, maybe we're somewhere here. It's actually when you look at it, it looks very similar to this leg right here. So you had your first big green candle off of the gray trend line, first big green candle. You had the second candle with a little bit of wick action, tiny wick, then a large green candle. Then we came and touched the level of support that we just broke through. Now we just touched that level of support that we broke through. And then look what happened after the fact. The following week, we ended up running up and so on. So maybe we're right here this week if we were to compare leg to leg. So it's interesting to see. It's kind of like a similar pattern over here, but this move happened a lot shorter than those previous legs, as you can see. We ran up. So if we go from here, it was a 7-week process to make it to the top. And this move here was I'm going to go from September 3rd, was a 11-week process. So maybe that's what we end up getting. Maybe we end up getting like a 9 weeks would take us to June, or yeah, June 9th. 10 weeks would take us out to 16th, and 11 weeks would take us out to June 23rd. But of course, this is subject to change. Maybe this is going to be a longer run. You know, things always are dynamic in the market. So there's nothing that's going to be for sure. Remember that. On the weekly SMAs, we got our break above it. Now we got a retest off of this horizontal level of support. But we are above the 20 and the 50. Very bullish look right now. It's kind of similar to yesterday. We're making our way up to the red band here on the weekly. And on the daily, the same concept. We're already there. See, if we hug it, we are coming up to that level of resistance here at this golden zone, which we showed previously. And to global liquidity, looks like we found our bottom potentially. And that bottom was about 85 days. This move has also been running up for an extended period. So if we go from here to the top of this move, that's a 98-day run. We've already been in it for some time. So if we go from here, take us out 98 days. Takes us to mid-July. Obviously, plus or minus days, because this isn't going to be exact. But this is potentially going to be a nice run up to higher levels. So as I said prior, we had this first leg, which returned about 300. Let me redo that. First leg returned about 350%. Second leg returned 380%, and then this one's much larger. So let's see if this one gives us, for easy numbers, 400%, which would take us to 1150 or so, to about 1200. Now we have had talks of Bullflags prior. As you can see, we have that bull flag there. It's playing out very well, and then it ended up moving up to the next leg. When you measure it out, it was almost spot on. And then when you move it all the way to the blow off top here, and then we move that flagpole over here to measure out our target, and we get something right in that region. And we got that region from this pull here. When you pull downward, you get something like that. And then you can see price was a magnet towards the 2618 and the 2272. And then when we repeat the same thing here, for anybody that's new, I do see we have an influx of new people, and I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe on this video. Share with your friends if you guys enjoy this kind of content. And I thank you for your continued support. So we have this pool here, and that's where I got this gray zone to the 2618 to the 2272, which lines up with our flagpole. So a lot of things pointing in the same direction. And that's also the top of our channel. So you have three things that are pointing in this area of 1100 to 1250, for instance. And then that's not accounting for, maybe we get a blow off top like we have seen 3 times previously. So we're going to do a little bit of speculation. So we're going to compare Bitcoin to MSTR, MSTR to MSTX. You can translate it to MSTU if you'd like. January 22nd to 360. January 2nd to March 25th. January 22nd to March, or it's, I guess, to this top. I guess we can do, we'll go to this top. That was 90%. So we did 90% on Bitcoin, 360 on MSTR. That's a 4x. And then we're going to go here from this bottom, September 3rd to November 18th, because that was actually the top for Microstrategy, and that's about 89 to 90%. And then we're going to take the same thing for MSTR. We're going to go from September 3rd to the blow off top, November 18th, which was 380%. And then when you look at MSTX, MSTR was 380, right? And then you look at MSTX, and now watch this. That was 1350. So that's like a 3.5, 4x, something like that. The reason this happens is because once the MNAV gets going, that's a multiplier in itself. So MicroStrategy is going to be outperforming Bitcoin at a larger rate. And then if you're familiar with leverage ETFs at all, you'll know that leverage ETFs typically do more than what they're anticipated in the bull runs. So if you look at like a 3x S&P 500, let's say the S&P 500 did 20% this year. Instead of it doing 60%, sometimes it would do 75, 80%, which is a 3.5 or 4x move. But that happens on the leverage because the leverage is compounding on itself. So you're getting that compound interest on top of the leverage, and it just keeps multiplying higher and higher. So you end up getting outsized returns more than what you're anticipating when it's in a bull run. And then, of course, when you're in a downturn, then that's a whole different story. But it kind of gives you an idea that if we run up a specific amount and it's mostly vertical, MSTX will do more than 2x on MSTR, and MSTR will probably do a lot more than we're anticipating. Like you saw in the examples, it's done like 4x on a couple of the moves. So it's something to think about. So we're going to say that, so we'll say Bitcoin goes up 100% to about 150K. And we'll say MSTR, we'll say that MSTR did 3x. So that takes it to about 300%, give or take. And then we'll multiply that by 3. And 314 times 3 is going to be 942, which will take you to somewhere in this region. 168, maybe you get a blow off top. Maybe we touch 220 or something like that. Maybe we undershoot and we hit 150. That kind of gives you an idea of what you could expect. This isn't trading advice or financial advice or anything like that, but this is just showing you the comparison between these runs. As you can see, we've had 80%, 90%, and then in MicroStrategy you saw 350 and then 380, and then MSTX you saw 90%, 380, and then MSTX was 1350. So I do expect to see something similar to that. I'm not going to say exactly 1300 again because we don't know how extended the blow off top will be, because that was a very exaggerated blow off top. But we can definitely expect something like this because we've seen a blow off top here and we've seen one here. So I would definitely anticipate one. If we do have a right translated cycle, I see it playing out something like this, where we make our way up, we do the exact same move again, if we have the right translated cycle, and then we peak here when we make it to the top of the channel again. That would be our peak. Not that exact price, but I'm saying in that region. If we have a left translated cycle, then this could probably be a larger move than we were anticipating, and we maybe push up to like 1500, and then that's the end of the cycle. That's kind of how I see things playing out. That's how I see things playing out if it's a left translated versus right translated. When you're messing with leverage, it ends up doing more than anticipated. So we'll see where things take us. If anybody's interested in MSTX and MSTU, you can run this with your numbers. If you're doing call options, have an idea of where you want to be at and what could possibly happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen though. But I am excited for the next couple months to see where things play out. I'm ready to get to that mania phase. But if you see these legs up right here, we really haven't even started our crazy move yet. We're kind of just like in this phase right here, or maybe like right here. So when you talk about like a 4 or 5 week span of just running up constantly, like this is a 4 week span, that's 66%. And a 4 week span was 55%, 56%. Actually, let's take it from the all-time highs or the recent highs. We ran up 47%. So we'll use that as the example instead. So as you can see, like each leg, we've gone up 47%. Let's see where this one took us before we had the temporary top, 52%. So maybe that's where we get. Maybe we get like a 40 to 50% move from the all-time high. So maybe we get something like that, 160, something in that region. Who knows? But that'd be nice to see. And that would translate very well to MSTR and MSTX. And if you want to see, where those numbers could take us, take a look at the ballistic acceleration model. Take a look at that and see where we could possibly be at and plug some numbers in and play with the charts and stuff. That's all I have for you guys. It was more speculative because we didn't really get much movement yesterday, so there wasn't much to really look at. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe.